Woo! Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Dan Patlansky back in the house. You haven't changed a dot, but we can't have seen each other for about 5 years.
I think it's even longer than that. I think it was like
COVID or something.
It was like 2017 or something.
Oh my
ridiculous.
God! Well,
and my beard was brown.
Was it? See, a little bit of grey, but you look distinguished. It's fine. You're keeping well, man. It's lovely to see you. I can't believe it's frightening when you think, nearly 10 years then have gone by since you were last on.
It's crazy.
So, Dan is back in the UK doing some gigs, but this time gigging with a looper rather than a band, which is exposing, right? So going
very exposing.
So we'll talk about maybe how the gear has changed since I last saw you. Some things are consistent or constant. A couple of things have changed. But just for people that don't know you, what's your, tell us about your sort of, your guitar playing inspirations and write your own Wikipedia page for me, please.
So I am a blues player. I think first and foremost, I have obviously dipped my toes in many different genres, but I think it always falls back into the blues. Even if I try and play another genre, it's always like, stick to the blues, So it's more that and short of sounding like every other guitar player on planet Earth, blues guitar player on planet Earth. I grew up listening to Stevie a lot, Clapton a lot. Yeah, like every other blues guitar player, massively influenced by him. David Gilmour, all those guys. And obviously growing up in South Africa, I'm South African, I still live there in South Africa. It's interesting because it's not known for the blues, right? It's not really known for live music, really, but we've got a scene there, as small as it is, but a really cool, loyal bunch of followers, and have been back and forth from Europe and the UK over the last, I suppose, just over a decade. Yeah. Doing my thing, released many albums, and come over and tour them as much as I can. Did you go to like a conservatoire or a music college, or did you just listen to albums and teach yourself everything? It was all mostly listening to my parents.
Okay.
Very good, very tasteful music collection, which was great. And they introduced me to a ton of cool stuff. And you obviously latch onto particular artists because they, for some reason, do something for you. And it was that painstaking thing, I suppose, of people of our generation before tabs were a thing. You sat with the CD and listened to the same phrase 4,000 times and, to try and get it in. And then I almost feel it sat a lot easier then because you put the work in.
I think I'm on a bit of a personal journey to try and break out of that sort of minor pentatonic blues soloing over a chord progression. And so I'm taking the opportunity now every time I meet a really good guitar player to go help, what's your approach? So I think something that happened to me probably within the last 2 years was going, okay, it doesn't always have to be minor pentatonic. That some chord progressions will work and you're just playing the major.
Yeah.
And then that, in my brain, that's just about going, okay, well, it's all the same, just in a different position.
100%, yeah.
Most recently, I'm starting to get the bug to understand what does playing over the changes mean.
Right.
Am I allowed to ask you this question?
You can.
Okay.
Definitely.
So somebody said, again, in my brain, probably the minute someone starts talking theory, my brain sort of just, shuts off and I find my attention span is not long enough to really understand it.
Right.
But if someone said, just say, look, if you're playing over a 1-4-5, just try this over the 5. My brain will go, okay,
Let's give it a go.
Yeah, so what help me, and I'm guessing a large percentage of our viewers here, what would you do? I mean, what was that loop fundamentally? Was that just a simple A?
Yeah, so there was like an A minor, G, F, and then F sharp diminished. But so I figured out this cool hack. I don't know if I figured out for myself. I'm sure this has been done by many players for years. Is I look at the key scale, which will be A minor, and then
Dan's tuned to E flat, by the way, which is why it looked like I was playing everything in a different position. But
then what I'll do is I'll take the second chord, which is the G, and I'll try and play that G in the same area of the neck, right? And I ask myself, which note
this is the caged system, isn't it? Yeah, okay.
But I'm just trying to get the a G chord, like in the same position as that
Understood.
pentatonic pattern.
Yeah.
And I ask myself, which note does not belong to the key scale? Because that's an A minor pentatonic note, that's an A minor,
Yeah.
that's an A minor. Oh, that one isn't.
Right.
So when it means when I'm playing over the G chord, those will be great notes to kind of outline. Same for the F. Which note doesn't belong? It's that one.
Right.
And then the F sharp is that one. So now I've got this little thing of going first chord is A minor, second chord I add that, third chord, and then when you play over it, if you did really, really simply, you could be going. Oh yeah, it's off.
I've turned off the. I apologise.
So it'll be something like this now. It'll be a. And
That's nice.
it starts,
Yeah.
it's, even though it's really, really simple, but it starts highlighting the chords.
Right.
And it works with every progression, even like a 12-bar blues. If you look at all those notes, you do the same thing. Which note of the first chord doesn't belong? Well, we add that note into the pentatonic. That note there.
So, but if I was to play that A major, and I've obviously got to play it down. Are you no? So what's so? Let's say the second chord of that would be just a D major.
Yeah.
Are you? Can you then not play that note that's in the A major? So if I go to the D, that sounds horrible now. So,
Yes.
So that's what you mean by playing over the chords. It's like you've got maybe 3 notes.
Yes.
Well, almost like one per chord.
Yeah, they're like target notes.
Yeah. That only works on that one.
Yeah, so all I'm doing is taking my key scale because we know the A minor pentatonic is going to work over all those chords. Great, no problems. But then when we over, say, the 4 chord, if we just play the regular A minor pentatonic, but then end on that, you're like, oh, that's really nice all of a sudden. You know, it really works. And then the same for the 5 chord. Well, that note's the note that doesn't belong, so now you can go. Oh, and it sounds so good.
Yeah.
And for me, that was kind of the starting point of learning how to play for the chords. And then I suppose you kind of come up with licks or riffs that are like almost like fundamental, like bass licks, like, you know, that you will improvise over. So always when I'm playing a 4 chord over a major, let me turn the reverb down a little bit. But if I'm going, and that is something I wrote and learned, and it's just like a go-to thing, and you can kind of mess around with improvising within that little lick, and that is the way at least I do it. Yeah.
Do you ever, try and emulate those kind of players that go very jazzy, like quite often over the 5? They'll just leave the A minor pentatonic, and it'll just go somewhere else, and it for me, guitar players that do that, if you've sort of zoned out a bit of the song, like you're sort of going, and then it's like, what? What's that?
Exactly.
It's like that's for me is because I think that first bit you've explained, I've had the caged system shown to me.
Yes.
And the way you've just shown it there, I think has probably, again, it's another one of my little, okay, I get it a bit more than I got before. Right. But I think I would almost hear that as just almost modes. For me, you're just playing like an A, I don't know if it's Dorian or whatever it is, but those kind of
yes.
So I probably am consciously playing those, just because maybe less because I understand because it works within the cage system, and more because my ear is trained enough to go. I know that note will sound nice.
Yes.
But the bit that I've just like, the next bit for me is this, like, what about if you just go somewhere completely different?
Yeah, so you're right. On the 5 chord, I find, listen, I'm not a jazz blues player.
I'm sorry if I'm putting you on the spot here as
this
well,
is good, but I've also loved kind of experimenting with stuff like that, is doing stuff like if you're playing like a shuffle and you just kind of mess around with the end, but just take some mid-range off the amp if you don't mind.
No, not at all. I mean, I can try and accompany it, as in if...
Yeah, we can do it like, blues and A. What? Here we go.
What did you do over the 5 there?
So what I did was I played a 2-5-1. So in other words, a 2-5-1 is always targeting something. The one's got a target. So I'm targeting the 1 chord.
Yeah.
So I substituted the entire the 5-4-1 with a B minor, 5, like that. So I was like B minor, you know. So that's like the B minor. How did I play that? And then kind of hitting that chord over there. And this, you know, for a player like me, I can't necessarily improvise and do like 100 versions of that.
Yeah.
But that's something I wrote and will kind of slide in every now and then. And then the other way is that diminished thing. That's pretty cool. And I learned it, and I'm still not great at it, but I learned it by playing the diminished scale. And that's all it sounded like when I played it. And you're like, that's not.
Yeah. So you need the chord to set behind it for that to feel.
No,
like
you don't.
Oh, okay.
So diminished is traditionally used when the chords are changing from the 1 chord down to the 4 chord, just to add that little bit of color to change. But you know, if you look at a diminished arpeggio, which is quite a cool thing, and you build off, if you learn that and you build a major triad off each one of them, then you start getting these really like outsidey types of things, and you're not seeing it as a diminished scale. You're seeing it as a A major, C major, E flat major, and F sharp major. And you could be doing stuff like. You start getting these wonderful tones, but I try and do it. I remember, this is a quick story. I remember learning stuff like that for the first time and just constantly playing it in every song.
Right.
Because I was like, oh, it's so cool, and I want to get this right. And then when I listened back to the performance, I was like, that really screwed the performance up.
Interesting.
So I now, that taught me to go, let me use it like once a night, just as that little special moment, you know.
Right. No, that's that.
Yeah.
I think that again is such a mature a thing that comes with maturity. I think when you're learning, or at least I'm perhaps not going to include myself in this because I'm not sure I ever got good enough fast enough. But when you see like young guys who are getting good at an early age, I think they do go through that kind of like throw it all in, and then time and maturity sort of goes, actually no, don't throw it all in.
Yeah.
It's like it's just keep some of it back, and then. But I must admit that they're my. I was saying we went to see. I went to see Kingfish last night, and again, he was. Again, he's another one of those guitarists who's you know, within the he's only 26 years old, but you know, within the last 3 or 4 years of his playing, has really started to go. Oh, you know what? There is. I can do other stuff.
Yeah.
And he did a great job of. You know, too much, and you're in like some sort of jazz fusion gig, and you're just like, hang on a second, I didn't buy a ticket for this. You know, it's like I'm supposed to be at a blues gig. But it is nice if there's just a little,
just those little kind of little just chestnuts kind of popped in there, and I love that. I personally love hearing a player play like that. Yeah.
Let's talk about now the gigs that you've got coming up now, and what is at the hub of the gig is that you're going to do a set. A live set, live looping. Yeah. Not Ed Sheeran covers, we should say, who is another guy who's amazing at doing that kind of thing. And but through necessity, right? Just because you just, it doesn't, the numbers don't add up to employ a bass player and a drummer.
Well, yeah. So I'm currently out on a support tour. And, you know, it's obviously important to do support tours because you really expand yourself to a wider audience, which is I haven't done in years. Mm-hmm. But obviously with the fees you earn on support, it doesn't make it viable. Yep. So in steps, you know, the looper, which is awesome, but also terrifying at the same time because...
So no, you're not trying to lay drums down within the loop or anything like that, are you? Or you got some of that as well?
Kind of. Drums is a bit of a stretch, but I'm kind of doing more of a...
Oh, so you're doing the... Okay.
on some stuff.
No, that's cool, right? But that's what I meant. So you're not the like loopers that would have a drum machine built in. You're not using that. You're just doing the percussive thing.
Yeah. So everything I'm trying to create out of the actual guitar doesn't always work out, but
So I mean, you know, of course, if you're live looping, there's always that sort of. For me, I think it. Sometimes about being at a live show, what's exciting is when there's always that sort of trepidation of just like, this could go wrong.
This could go either way.
Yeah, and I think I like that. Like almost like if you want to hear a performance and guarantee nothing's going to go wrong, it's like, well, buy the CD then. You know, it's like. Whereas it's like half of me is like the live show should be about the artist going, okay,
yes,
and also should be about the audience embracing, like, you know, it's like just like live it. Like if there's a mistake, it's just like that's because the artist is really pushing themselves.
Exactly.
So you should be like applauding that, not going, oh, we fucked that up. Didn't excuse my French.
Yeah.
But like, come on, you've chosen an RC500, which you know is super widely available. You can buy one of those in any kind of music shop, really. And I guess it's quite a handy. Are you using it as like a dual looper, or is it largely just single loops?
No. So the reason I went with this is I had the older version of it, which was I think the RC30, with also the 2 pedals, and that was great. I used it for years. But this one, you can send each one of the tracks can go out on its separate line, and you know, with the loop show, one of the things that you can run into really quickly is being not very dynamic, because whatever's put in that's what it is. It's not kind of following you. So I found it, the more I can give the sound guy, like the more play, because none of the loop would come through my amp. I've got a switcher that switches from the loop line that normally goes to a DI box directly to the PA, and then I go back to the amp, right? That kind of thing. Yep. But it just gives the front of house guy a little bit more play, which equals it's going to be a little bit more dynamic out front, because it can get a little bit square and blocky.
So you're presumably, if you're giving a DI straight to the sound guy, are you keeping those tones all as clean as possible?
Clean as possible.
We're not trying to get, because you've got no sort of amp emulation.
No amps. I mean, literally the loops. Like, I mean, we're going through an amp now on the loop side. It will, you know, be very, very simple kind of looped with, you know, obviously a little bit of an octave on if it's whatever's happening, you know. I think the trick with the loopers, I know you guys do a lot of looping too, but it's just about keeping it simple. As soon as you start kind of channeling the abyss, that's when I think...
I think the bit that always impresses me when Pete does looping, I think if I'm doing a 4-bar or an 8-bar loop, I've got to the point where I can, by and large, count 8 bars, and it's in, you know, and it's in. Although I know a lot of people, when they're just starting out on the loop journey, just counting a 4-bar is like really hard. Just counting to 4. But Pete will do. Sometimes Pete will do these like 30 or 40 second loops, you know, and the timing is nailed, and I'm just like, man alive, that is like, what has he got, like a natural inbuilt metronome or something,
like clicking away in the brain.
Yeah, maybe.
But this, you know, on this it helps. It's got quantized, so So sometimes, you know, obviously when you're playing live, you might accidentally end the loop too soon or too late, and
you found this device will it'll quantize it back and
just needs. I mean, obviously, if it's a serious mistake, it's not going to quantize. But if it's just a case of pressed at that microsecond too late, or if it really does quantize, and the beauty of this is being a blues guy, you know, you want to do a 12-bar blues. Now that takes about a week for one cycle to go around. Now to loop that's pretty difficult.
Really
so on the one channel, I can do a basic. With a bit of verb, obviously.
Right.
Can go through, and I do it for 1 bar, and then I can go to the next channel, and then I can loop 12 more.
But you've got almost that metronome that you've set yourself in the first
and then
one.
it helps, like tremendously helps.
Yeah, I can imagine. I think it's another interesting. I found with loopers, if you're doing everything into one amplifier, it's quite easy as well to overload the the amplifier just ends up going, I just can't do all this at once. It's like having 5 guitar players all plugged into the same amplifier. The amp's just like, I can't. And so you hear that sort of unwanted compression and just you lose the clarity, especially if you're trying to do like a lead line over the top of it or something.
Big time, and that's why I put the switcher in, because then it's like the only thing coming through the amp is the live playing.
Yeah.
And it is tough sometimes when you're looping. It's like the worst part of a looping show, setting up the loop. Yeah. Even though that's part of it, because that's where everything goes wrong or can go wrong. But you also lose the will to live a little bit when you hear your guitar going directly to the PA. It's not like the most ideal sound.
Yeah.
But I thought of putting a simulator on, or a speaker simulator, or amp sim there, but then the drum stuff and the bass stuff sounds a bit like compressed and stuff. But it kind of works, and it's such minimal stuff you're playing through. And every time I hit the loop, it's looped, and you're done, and you go back to the guitar. My whole being relaxes, because you're like, all right.
Yeah, I made it. And that's what I like about it. You could have had pre-recorded loops or a backing track or whatever, but what you've done by doing that is you're removing quite a significant layer of that vulnerability and that trepidation of just going like, I might mess this up. And I really think that that for me, that's what I love about those kind of live shows. Even seeing an artist like Ed Sheeran, playing to 100,000 people, there's a chance. He's good, right? So it probably doesn't happen, but there's a chance. And then what are you going to do in front of 100,000 people? He's going to have to go, sorry guys, delete.
That's happened to me many times, especially on the longer loops where it's a lot of layers. Some of those loops can take like 3 minutes to set up.
Really?
And then you mess up the loop and the last thing. And then you got this decision to make, which is, do we just live through this for the next 5 minutes? Or do I restart the loop and waste another 3 minutes of everyone's lives? And so I normally just live with it.
I think you've got to, haven't you?
Yeah.
And you're singing as well, so you're doing the loops and singing guitar too. And just like.
And I suppose it's the songs too. You got to choose very wisely.
Because not everything. Your vocal at all?
No, I've never done that. I should. I know it's got the capabilities to do that.
That might be an interesting.
Little harmonies and all sorts of things.
You never know.
Yeah.
You know what we'll see next time. You'll have your version of Chewy, won't you? Like,
yes.
Never mind. Can't afford a bass player or a drummer. It's like you got a haulage company just to take your looper around with you.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, look. I think we'll probably play around and we'll listen to a bit more looping stuff. But other than that, it's a very compact pedal board.
Yeah.
And it's lovely to see again. You're the only guy. You introduced us to the Honeybee amplifiers like that, and it's lovely to see you still playing. I know you got a different one this time around, but it's the same kind of model. It looks great, man.
Oh, they're great amps.
So, but this is all about is this kind of like Stevie inspired? That's just the vibe.
Maybe I'm speaking out of place and I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's designed after Stevie's amps.
Right.
So it's like solid state rectified, so you got that big kind of bottom end. Mm-hmm. And they can be very unforgiving at times, especially when you're not playing with a band. They don't really make sense because they're quite pokey. Not pokey, that's the wrong word. They're quite hard. But as soon as you get a loud drummer and a bass player, it's like all of a sudden the amp comes alive. But yeah, it's kind of built to be a very super clean, but I love the tone stacks, like how that's thought about. It's on some amps you can turn up the treble and it's just this very overweight treble comes up and it's like, it's a bit too much now. And this is like, for me, it's like all, I suppose, boutique amps. It's like you can hear someone's put a bit of love in it, a little bit of thought into the mids, the bass, all that kind of thing.
I don't think I've ever really thought about that, but there's something about those old Fender and Marshall tone stacks where it was almost like the guy who designed the amplifier knew how he wanted it to sound.
Yeah.
And he wasn't really going to let you mess it up.
Yeah.
Like it was almost wherever you set it, the DNA of the amp was there, and it was just. And then you had brands like Mesa Boogie come along and go, no, I'm going to give you like everything. This is going to radically change the tone as you dial in this treble or your bass, whatever. And I used to find with those amplifiers, particularly if you just weren't very experienced about how to use them, there's more bad sounds than good ones, just because that's just that EQ setting is just like wrong, like do not use that. Exactly. Whereas on a Fender it's almost like, and in Marshall even more, right? We were doing a video yesterday with a JCM, was it a Plexi or a JCM 800? I can't remember. And it's like, let me show you what the bass control does. absolutely audibly nothing, absolutely audibly nothing. You know, it's like, what is the point of this even being on here? But I kind of love it because it's like Jim Marshall just obviously wanted the amp to sound a certain way, and he wasn't going to put a bass control on there that you
buy it,
you know,
because it sounds that way.
Yeah,
that's true. And I tend to gravitate towards amps that are like these. You know,
what is that, like 100 watt?
This is a 40 watts.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
wow.
So they're incredibly loud, and I don't know amp stuff, like the DNA and capacitors and stuff, but I've got a couple of these, and they all are crazy loud, but I just love, there's just something very special about them,
Now, maybe we should just hear, you were saying that your first drive pedal in the chain is like an always on.
Yeah.
Would you mind just switching off, and we'll just just get an idea of... Yeah.
So the amp, it's not... I'm going through the wrong amp.
Has that been happening the whole time?
No, it has not.
I didn't think so.
That was the loop line.
I was thinking to myself, okay. Right,
so
we'll leave all that in. And now this is exactly what, you know, this is what happens, right?
Yeah,
okay. So, okay, fine. So
now it's the Honeybee without the always on.
A lot more bass end than the Royalist.
Yes.
Which the Royalist is Marshall inspired anyway, and I think, and obviously I'm guessing the Honeybee takes its heritage more from a sort of a Fender DNA.
Fender, Dumble-esque type of thing.
So you could hear that enhanced bass end and sort of scoop as soon as you switched over. But anyway,
so this is clean. And then with the always on,
I love that tone of, and that for me that is that sort of 60s Fender, not twin, like, you know, like a super reverb or a vibroverb or something like that, but with where someone's turned it up,
exactly,
right? And they're getting that lovely edge of breakup. And I'm guessing you can go back to a more sparkly clean sound by just rolling the voice.
Yeah.
It's so nice. And then, are you using the other pedals on the board, the boost pedals anyway? It's just like solo things,
solo types of things. So I've got the soloist, which is more like low gain, kind of, blues kind of. And then I got this old Australian-made pedal called MI Audio.
Oh yeah, they did the Crunch Box or something.
That's
they had
right.
Like one mega famous pedal, didn't they? Of something. I think it was like a red one or something like that. And obviously had other pedals, but one did make it. Like you often see that on where digital modelers will have like, hero kind of pedals. You see the MI. I'm sure it's got a Crunch Box. Or something
I think it was the red Crunch Box.
But I didn't.
This is called the Blue Boy Deluxe, and it's kind of like a tube screamery thing, but I just set the gain a lot. A little bit more fuzz-esque, if that's even a word. So just for the slight, it's a bit.
Well, I'm intrigued with the order that you run your pedals in that. Oh man, I think I would normally assume if you wanted the what do you call this? The OD Texas tone. And you said it's a French.
Matthias Audio Tech. Yeah.
I'd normally associate if you wanted to do like a solo-y type boosty thing, you'd put the other two pedals before it to sort of push it a bit harder, but you like that, you just want to take that bass tone and almost build on top of that.
Make that kind of louder. And I have experimented with different orders, and this one just always seems to be the one that I like the most. I have to bring the drives and the gains down a little bit on the other pedals, otherwise it just gets a little bit too fizzy. But man, it's a really, really fun setup and Works great.
Then the pedal every guitar player should own, regardless
Yes.
of. Well, I say that, you know, if you like old amps with lovely reverb and lovely tremolo in them, then the Flint does just about the best job of any pedal you can buy for that, right?
You know, I've never really been a spring reverb guy on the amp.
Right.
Just because I find it quite hard to control. It's like either too much or too little. And I love the digital thing, especially in this Flint. And I like that 70 setting there, the plate, and it's just so controllable. I mean, you can get like quite a roomy sound, like a short room. And obviously you can go to space and back, which I like, you know, with all that kind of thing. But it's a pedal I don't really adjust much. It's like when you get that the sound, it just stays on. And the trem, that is just. I never used trem before until I got this thing, and then
really?
I've got to force myself to switch it off sometimes.
Interesting.
It's just so lovely. It's just.
I think tremolo is the sort of. It's like the forgotten, distant cousin of the other modulation pedals. So, you know, people I think will just go, I'll get a chorus or I'll get a phaser or whatever.
Delays and yeah.
But I think you're right. I think I'm trying to think who it was that was telling me now, but there was somebody was saying, if you get those early Fender amplifiers that had the tremolo circuits built in, but you just have it on all the time, but on a really subtle setting.
Yeah.
It does introduce just this almost imperceptible movement to the tone, but that's like, because it's always on, I guess that's what makes it imperceptible. But then when you turn it off, all of a sudden the tone sounds just slightly less interesting.
Yeah,
like, you know, it's
completely.
not, you're not using it to audibly make the sound do that. It's just this movement.
Yeah,
that
it just does this magic on the sound.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've really fallen in love with it, and that's really my pedal board. I mean, the only reason it's on the bigger board is because of the loop section at the bottom. Such a lovely sound, man. I can't get enough of it. I really can't.
I do think the worst thing about a pedal, you know, like a Flint or whatever, and you alluded to this when you were talking about the sort of more jazzy lines, there is a tendency to just use it on everything. If you go back about 18 months, maybe 2 years on the Andertons channel, God, maybe more than 2 years now, when Strymon brought out the Cloudburst, which was the reverb with the sort of ensemble mode, I think there's about 2 months worth of video where it's just like, oh my God, turn it off, man. It's just like, it's done. You've done it. It's like, and yet now I think we're sort of 2 years into it. You just go like, you'll just hear it every so often. And when you do hear it, you're just
special.
Like, oh my God, it sounds so good. But yeah, you have to be slightly, but that's a great little board. And the Strat is, so that looks like it's had some more interesting engravings.
Yeah, so this body is built by a guy named Larry Green in Arizona. He built me the body. It's one of the best Strat bodies I've ever played. It's super resonant, super light. He etched that in for me. I didn't have to ask. He just did it. I've got the Jesse Bluebird pickups in that I really like. The Jesse switch.
Oh, what is that?
That's a capacitance switch, so you can like set your amp a lot brighter. So without it, you'll hear the way I've set the amp. It's quiet. So I love that. Like something happens with the mid-range. I don't know the technical, but it kind of scoops off the high end a bit, and then you can give the amp a little bit more on the top end. So it's a nice little tool to have over there.
I think that the Strat, I've always gone, it just seems pointless to have two tone controls on a Strat.
Completely.
And then you go like triple pointless if you go vintage Strat, where actually the back pickup doesn't even have a tone control. It's like, well, surely you need three tone, So actually the idea of looking for like aftermarket kind of like mod kits and stuff where one of your tone controls on your Strat does something else and then the other tone control just basically does everything.
Exactly.
I think that it's like, why wouldn't you do that? Whatever I've got a Strat with a Clapton thing on it. And it's
'cause
like,
it's kind of like a dead space for most people.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, it's a great shout.
So I mean, wow, I love the switch, I really do. And then the neck is a Fender custom shop neck. I bought a Daphne Blue 63, but it had this really big chunky neck, and that's why I bought it, because I just fell in love with the neck. And it's arguably just been the best neck I've ever played.
It's a beautiful piece of rosewood.
Yeah, man, great dark, and it's a nice, I think it goes up to like an inch at the,
right.
So it really fills the hand beautifully, and I just paired the neck with the body, and I was just like, oh, I really like this. So yeah, really, really stoked with it, and yeah.
You've gone the Stevie Trem system and everything.
Yeah.
I'd only just noticed that.
This took a while to get used to.
Right.
So I've always wanted that. But
is there a technical reason why Stevie put a left-handed Trem system?
I think he wanted to be like Hendrix. I think he wanted that Hendrix thing. But it definitely feels different, because you kind of anchor it from the low end rather than. I find my tuning's a bit better. But what I also found was when I first started playing it, I kept on grabbing nothing.
Right.
Because you used to where the bar's supposed to be. But then you kind of, you really start getting. So it was something I thought would be fun to add onto the guitar if someone's building me a body from scratch, but was really, really chuffed with how the way the body came out. It's just, it was, and how it feels on your body, and
Wow. I think it looks great. And you know what, I'm always, the little things like the left-handed trem system and stuff like that, these are all, I think it's worth just taking a minute to just go, I wonder why Stevie did do that, and all that kind of, because there will be there'll be a vibe to it, right? And it's interesting actually. You see very, very, in fact, other than his signature stuff from Fender, and then maybe when you might see a left-handed guitar player who's just decided to play a right-handed guitar, you never see it. So that's cool.
It takes a bit of getting used to, but I love it, man. I absolutely love it. Yeah.
Well, it's a great little rig. I must say as well, the other thing that I love about going to see a live guitar player is, and we had this again, I think you'll probably agree, on the Kingfish thing last night. He had two Fender Twins on stage, and the venue's like a 2,000 cap thing. So it's not, there's some going through the front of house, but there's also the amps are pretty loud on stage as well.
That.
And it's just, though, I think what you realise that in that sort of 1950 through the 1960s, where all this kind of stuff is coming out, that was just what was where musicians gigged. There wasn't this idea of like, oh, I need to make an amp that works in someone's bedroom, or I need to have an amp we're gonna mic it and put it all through front of house. They just went, your average, your venues, you had lots of touring guitar players that were playing 1,000-seater, 2,000-seater theatres, and the amp just had to fill that space.
Had to fill the room.
And it's like you hear one and you go, oh my God, that's what the amp was made to do.
Yeah, exactly. That was its design.
Yeah. And everything, speakers, everything, they were made to do that. And it's just like a glorious thing that I don't know that you ever really capture on an album either. It's
so hard to do.
It's just like you have to go and witness it in the flesh. And it's
so hard to do.
Yeah.
So right.
But anyway, look, it's great. Before we play out, obviously, thank you so much for coming. It's lovely to see you again. I will be watching this video back over and doing that whole cage thing and ripping off licks that I can technically do if I can. Great to see, again, the looper thing. The looper thing, I think, is very much anybody could buy a looper and start trying to do some simple loop stuff. And it's
such an investment into your playing.
Yeah, it's a great, really effective. If you want to find out more about Dan, I don't think we're going to have time to edit this video up and get it out before Dan's little UK stint is finished. But if we do, if you're watching this before the end of November in 2025, you may still be able to get to a show. But anyway, there'll be links to Dan's website below. And you've got new music coming next year, and
live album next year. It's going to be,
you'll tour that, I'm sure.
Yes, definitely,
which is great. So anyway, look, please go check Dan's music out. He's a great player, lovely guy. Let's do something else. Let's loop something else.
Yeah, let's do it.
Thank